One final late night game for the Blackhawks as they travel to Connor Bedard's hometown of Vancouver to face the Canucks. We'll preview the game next on the CHGO Blackhawks Pregame Show. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Pregame Show. Hawks and Canucks coming up at 9 p.m. I'm Jay Zawaski. That's Mario Tirabassi. We are remote today as Sarah is still under the weather, so we're keeping her indoors, away from people, and doing it remote. On these late night shows, not a big deal.
We didn't have enough likes on the last video. Sarah's still sick.
Yeah, no one hit the like button enough.
Let's go.
I think there were so few that she actually got sicker. So if you want Sarah to feel better, you've got to hit that like button for us. We got to get back in the office, but we do appreciate you being with us. Yes, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the YouTube page. And remember, we will be here as soon as the game ends. Same spot, same basements, giving you the full post-game show. So final game of this late night road trip. Happy it's about to be over. And Hawks and Canucks, I hope it's better than last time we had these two meet in Vancouver.
Yeah, hopefully the Blackhawks can come out with a little bit of, for lack of a better term, embarrassment off of how they played in San Jose and the result that they got and the tomfoolery that was had, and they come out and they have an effort against Vancouver that can get them out of the gate fast. Like that's baby steps. That's the first thing that they need to do tonight is have a completely different start than they did against San Jose, and then you see where you go from there.
Yeah, and usually when they have better starts, they're rewarded. I mean, you might not, you look at that Colorado game as it's a loss, a 3-0 loss with an empty netter, and it's not great, it's not a win, but you look at the way that game went, and most nights if they play that way, they're going to beat most of the teams, and I would think that would be the case tonight in Vancouver. So again, hopefully they get the message, and we like the way the lines are lined up tonight. We're going to get to that. But first, we're going to hear from Blackhawks head coach Anders Sorensen, this courtesy of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Like Arvid starting?
Yes. Yep.
And Crevier in for Del Mastro?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's your advice for Levshunov for his third game now?
Same. Just trust your instincts. Play the game the way you know how to play it. And then I thought he had a good game again last game. His gaps were good. He has some good retrievals. So just keep building off of that.
Mikheiv's been hot lately. It looked like he was on the second power play unit now too. I guess what's your analysis of how he's been?
Yeah, he's been really good. Habits have been really good. He's competing. He's moving his feet a lot. He's in on the forecheck, but he's hanging on to pucks as well. So he's been on that second unit now for a couple of games, rewarded. He's playing well.
Is there anything that's changed, I guess, from when you came in to now with his game?
I don't know. I mean, just his habits. Like I said, his habits are so good, and we trust him. So we utilize him a lot on the PK, obviously, but now he's earned that opportunity to play on the power play, and I think he feels really good about it where his game is at right now. So,
what have you seen from Veleno his first week here?
Some good things, some things a little different structure than they have in Detroit, right? So just getting used to some of the D zone stuff and forecheck stuff, but I think it's getting better and better. Yeah.
What about Vancouver, Anders? What do you have to do to be successful tonight against them?
Yeah, good team. Obviously fighting for a playoff spot, so the urgency is going to be there. I think that's one part of it, going to match that urgency right off the bat. They're good in zone offense, making sure that we're closing in, trying to get stops quick in the D zone here is going to be key, and then just after that, go play our game.
San Jose game, what needs to improve from that game?
Start.
Just the start.
Yeah, I thought after the start we were good.
If you keep the goalies rotating from here, this would line up Knight to start against Seattle and St. Louis, and those are two teams that have historically, scored a lot on Soderblom. Is that any part of the logic in this?
No, honestly, no. We were, we went back with Nider last game, and now it's Soda's turn, and we'll see how tonight goes, and we'll make a decision from there.
All right, there's Anders Sorensen ahead of the game tonight in Vancouver, and here's how the Blackhawks will line up against the Canucks. Everyone's happy, reunited, and it feels so good. Connor Bedard, Colton Dach, and Frank Nazar. That's your top line. Ryan Donato centers Teravainen and Mikheyev. Dickinson between Slaggert and Foligno, and Veleno will take the draws between Reichel and Bertuzzi. Your D pairs are Vlasic and Levshunov, Kaiser and Murphy, Martinez and Crevier, with Arvid Soderblom back in goal. So the couple big stories here. I think the biggest is Artem Levshunov on the top D pair with Alex Vlasic and Mario. So we've been talking about Levshunov's 2 games and his time up here with the team. We're all sort of wondering, like, how long will this last? I don't know, but putting him on the top pair doesn't seem like he's bound for Rockford anytime soon.
Maybe not. Maybe this could be a let's see it one time, and then maybe who knows how long he'll stay up here. But I think giving him the first 2 games, you put him with Alec Martinez, a savvy veteran, a guy that can help kind of get him acclimated to the NHL in a few starts, and now you see this is a picture of the future. Like can the stylistic pairing of Alex Vlasic and Artem Levshunov, can it work? Where is it at right now? And I really feel like that is a pairing that is really good stylistically between Vlasic's game and Levshunov's game, instinctively how they play. You still have again, most of these defensemen that the Blackhawks have, however you pair them together, you're going to have good length on that pairing. Vlasic's a big guy, Levshunov's a big guy as well. So I think that's a good pairing there. So they're gonna draw some tough matchups because Vlasic is the number 1 guy here now that Seth Jones has been gone. So Levshunov's gonna have to again, it's this theme we see with him is where they kind of give him a lot on his plate, and he's been able to handle it so far. So this will be another night where it seems like there'll be an increase in his responsibilities, and we'll see how he responds.
I do like the way, at least in theory, at least on paper, the way that Vlasic and Levshunov could play together, because you have the predictability of Vlasic, who is just a very classic stay-at-home defenseman. I think as his career evolves, and we've seen it this year a little bit, the offensive game increase a little bit. With the kind of freewheeling style of Levshunov, who's dialed it back a little bit at the NHL level, probably because he was told, hey, we want you to be aggressive, but not reckless. But I wonder if having Vlasic back there, a guy is going to be where he's supposed to be, almost all the time, allows Levshunov to loosen up a little bit. Not that Martinez isn't that guy, but I think at this point in his career, he probably can't recover from things as well as Alex Vlasic can. So I'm interested to see how differently Levshunov plays in this game.
Well, I mean, Vlasic's, got the warp speed boost, right?
That's
so
right.
He's got his skating, skating's boosted right now. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine with Levshunov, it's more or less a comfortability thing, being in the NHL and being able to tap in more to the instincts of, how they want him to play and be aggressive and then stylistically as well. Like we saw with the change with when they went from Richardson to Sorensen, they wanted the defenseman to be way more active. So maybe it's just kind of getting back into that system with Sorensen now in the NHL, when it's kind of how he was playing in Rockford. I doubt that there's that much difference, but it could just be a little bit of a comfortability thing for Levshunov, and maybe we see a little bit more from him tonight, and he can open it up. That would be awesome. I mean, he's getting power play opportunities again tonight. Like that's going to be fun to see. So it's again, like it's one of these storylines with these young guys at the end of the year where we're setting the table for next year. So hopefully this is a better effort from the group, but hopefully it can be a game where some of these young guys like really, have some moments here.
I'm just fascinated by this idea that for some guys, the NHL is easier than the AHL. I think that's such an interesting concept. And the first time I heard it, and I may have mentioned this on a show before, so apologies if I'm being repetitive, but that was kind of the vibe about Tavo when he was in Rockford. What was almost like his game was too advanced for the AHL,
Yeah.
where he would set guys up for passes and they just wouldn't be ready, or the game gets a little too mucky and slow and choppy for any kind of flow to happen for more offensive minded players. Levshunov said that before he even played a game. He said he felt like the NHL practices were easier for him because of the flow and because of the skill. And I think he's sort of reflected that in his first 2 games as a pro. So maybe the Hawks saw that too. And like, look, he's getting better down here, but we need to kind of, maybe he wasn't feeling, maybe challenged isn't the right word, but didn't feel like the ability was up to his, and just kind of, I don't want to say he got bored. I'm trying to say this without being critical, because it's not critical, but I wonder if it just got kind of frustrating for him down there a little bit, that the game just didn't move the way he's used to.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that sometimes when you have a player that can play at a high pace and process the game at a high pace, when you're in the AHL, it's a game that is a maybe a step slower than the NHL, because it's guys getting up to the professional game. It's a lot of players that are, right on that cusp of being in the NHL, but just don't have that extra gear that get them there. So, I think with Levshunov, like, you have a guy with a high, like, a high level of skill and talent and processing ability, and the ability to pick things up quickly. So when he got it in Rockford and you started to see those steps taking in the right direction, it would make sense that he would be like, I'm ready for more. And he's kind of always had that mentality. I mean, it's funny. I go back to the draft night, and the first time we get to talk with him, and we've heard him talk before, and it's short answers. You can tell there's a lot that he wants to say, but I think maybe the language barrier holds back some of his ability to kind of like elaborate and be able to like fully explain what he wants to say. But I remember he was talking for about 10-12 minutes, and we were like, okay, I think that's it. And he's just like, that's it. Like, I want to keep talking. I want, this is exciting for me. So I think like he likes those kinds of moments and wants to be able to like get the most out of them. So I'd imagine that was kind of the same when he finally got it at the AHL level. He's like, cool, now I want to do more.
Well, he also, kind of to your point, he doesn't seem phased by anything. There's no moment too big. There's no, like a lot of guys to debut against Colorado would be really nervous and really hesitant and afraid to make a mistake. And he did not play that way at all, and basically said, it's not the end of the world. We lost the game. It's okay. We got another chance. We'll be all right. His attitude is congruent with that sort of thing, where you can throw him in any situation and he's going to handle it mentally okay. Now, the physical part of the game and the lessons you learn at the NHL level, which we've seen a lot of young guys learn this year, Bedard, Nazar, Vlasic earlier in his career, and I think still to an extent, we're still seeing Vlasic learn some lessons on the ice, hard lessons here and there, but that's all part of it. But he just seems very equipped mentally to handle it. I don't know what his upbringing was like. I don't know, what necessarily it's like in Belarus, but I'm sure it was not as easy as it would be for your typical, American teenager coming up through hockey. It was probably a little bit of a tougher lifestyle for him. So I think just happy to be here and happy for the opportunity. And I think that we've kind of heard guys mention too that his attitude can be a little bit infectious. Like, he's just kind of happy and fun, and he kind of lights a room up a little bit, even though the language barrier is there, as you mentioned. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always happy. And those guys, like any workplace, when you've got that guy that everybody kind of likes, everybody likes being around, when they're around, it makes everything better.
Yeah, Big Dave.
That is a great example. When Big Dave walks into our offices, the mood is different.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I'd imagine Levshunov, especially with the young guys. That's a guy that I think that they're all excited to get to know more and build relationships with. And I think Vlasic was saying that Levshunov is kind of hanging around a little bit more at the beginning of his time here in Chicago. He's hanging around more with the guys in Rockford that he's got to know a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as you have these kinds of road trips, like you're doing everything with your teammates, so you get to know guys a little bit more. So I'd imagine it's starting to rub off on everybody else. But yeah, I mean, it's that's one of the big things is everyone talks about is his personality. And, he's always had that, like you've mentioned before, like the kind of like the Brizgala of kind
Yeah.
of like hockey's
Why you
just a
have to be
game.
mad?
Like, I'm just playing hockey. It's not that serious. Like, I mean, and he's gone through some stuff. He lost his dad a few years ago, and um, that's a huge thing for anybody to go through at any age, but especially as a teenager. Kevin Korchinski too. He went through that last year. So I mean, that's when something like that happens to you, and you go through something like that at that age. Playing in the NHL probably is not as stressful or or scary or anything like that when you've gone through something that serious in real life. So I think that probably plays into a little bit of his, like, his life goes on. Like, he's said that a number of times. Like, I feel like that probably plays into that.
Well, it's sort of any kind of life perspective too. It's, you think about, I mean, you've got a young daughter. My daughter is 14. She'll be 15 in May. And you kind of look at your life in two different phases of pre-child and post-child. And I often look at my wife and I'm like, what do we do all day when we didn't have a kid? Like, what do we do? Like, how do we just party all the time? Like, it's hard to remember, but it just puts things into perspective. Any sort of life moment like that
Yeah.
just adds perspective. So I think you see a lot of guys too in the NHL who maybe they're a little bit immature to start their career, be it mouthing off to refs or be it whatever it might be. And then the marriage comes or the kid comes or both. And it's like, okay, there's more to this than just hockey. And I think it can kind of reset guys in a good way. I want to shout out Nico, by the way, who in the chat mentioned that Andrew Shaw was a better NHL player than AHL player, which is crazy because, and that's accurate, but you would think that the AHL would more impact Andrew Shaw. It fits his game a lot better. But yeah, he came up. I always forget who this was. Was it Olsen?
With Dylan Olsen.
Dylan Olsen. And that was like, oh man, Dylan Olsen's here.
First round pick.
And Andrew Shaw was just like, oh, this guy will get a game or two and get sent back down. And he never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you have that different edge that can stand out in the end, because the AHL is full of guys that play like that. But when you get to the NHL, there's a little bit more, the speed and the skill shines a little bit more. So when you have a player that plays like that, it can stick out more because less teams have guys like that. So yeah, and that's definitely an accurate statement. Ben Pope, people are mentioning in our chat, Ben Pope points out that in line rushes and warmups, Frank Nazar is centering the top line, not Connor Bedard. Bedard is actually on the right wing. So that's interesting. I'm, with the way that Nazar has been playing, every time he's been in a center, whether it was second line when he kind of first got up here, or third line that he played in the last few games, he's been very noticeable in positive ways. The game against the Sharks, like, he was very clearly one of the most engaged and effective players. I'm 100% down with him being able to play down the middle wherever you put him with, and let's see it. This is, again, like we said, this is a time to kind of set the table for next year. And if Frank Nazar can handle being, a center full time and with whoever you put him with, from Nick Foligno to Connor Bedard, like, that's a big thing, big positive thing for Frank.
Yeah. I'm still not giving up on the Bedard at center experiment. I still hope that he works his way out there, but like you said, just give it a look, see how it goes. And I think this could be take a little bit of pressure off Bedard for a moment. Let him focus on scoring, not have to worry about the 200-foot game quite as much. He still will, but just say, hey, like, your job tonight is to get us some points, get on the score sheet, make some things happen for us, and have, frankly, a night like Frank Nazar had the other day where he had 6 shots on goal and 10 shot at, like, something crazy.
Yeah, he was all
have
over
a game like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it still fits the strategy for Anders, where it's just like, we want two guys that can play the center position on each line, and they still have that. Like, Bedard off to the wing doesn't mean that he can't, shift over to the center for a shift or whatever it needs to be, and vice versa with Nazar. And they have guys up and down the lineup that can do that for everybody. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. And again, like with Bedard, like if he doesn't play center full time for his entire career, that's okay. I imagine that the Blackhawks will find centers that can play with him, either by having drafted a few guys that could do that, or acquiring somebody who can do that. That's fine, as long as Connor Bedard in some capacity pans out to be the guy that you expected him to be, and the guy you picked him at as number 1 overall to be, whether it's as a center or a wing. As long as he can be that guy, it's fine.
Yeah, and I really like. I feel like a lot of the times that Frank Nazar has impressed me the most, it's happened in the middle of the ice. It's
Yeah.
happened in either of the slots in front of the net. He can stick handle and tight. Doesn't get knocked off the puck quite as easily as Bedard. Again, he's 2 years older. Let's remember this, everybody. So that's part of it. I don't think that part of Bedard's game will not come eventually, but
Yeah.
maybe at this moment he's better suited for center. And there's nothing about Nazar's game that tells me, ooh, maybe he's not a center. I think that box is checked. Whether it's a 1C or a 2C or a 3C remains to be seen. But
Yeah.
there's nothing that worries me about his game.
Aside from being quote unquote undersized, that'd be the only thing that I'd be like, yeah, it's not your prototypical guy that you want your top 6 center, but his skill set and his tenacity can overcome being an inch or 2 short. Again, I keep going back to a guy like Braden Point for Frank Nazar, like someone he's not the biggest guy, but he plays really effectively both ends of the ice, high offensive skill, and is played down the middle pretty effectively too. So if he can be a guy like that, wonderful.
We had a question in the chat looking at some of the other lines here. We can't just focus on the top pairs. Tyler Bertuzzi is just embroiled in a slump here. And someone asked me the other day on Twitter, are they going to buy him out? No, they're not going to buy him out. But someone said, is it time to maybe give him a little bit of a break? Maybe sit him for a game, get Pat Maroon in. I don't know. Someone asked, I don't know if it was in the chat or online or somewhere, but has Tyler Bertuzzi generated his own scoring chance very often this year? And I would say the answer to that is no. He makes all of his hay in front. He's got those good hands in tight, kind of knows how to redirect very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
I like Bertuzzi. I'm glad he's here. I think he's an asset to the team, but lately he has looked very, very lost. And now he's on the 4th line with Reichel and Veleno. I don't know if this is like the final step before a scratch comes for Bertuzzi, but he's not been the same Tyler Bertuzzi we saw earlier in the year. Even if he wasn't scoring, the opportunities were there. I feel like with Bertuzzi, we're not even seeing the opportunities lately.
Yeah, he's not really a create off the rush guy. He is a setup in the offensive zone kind of player, and I think when you play on a team that doesn't have a ton of setup in the offensive zone time, it's harder to be effective. He was producing really well when he was playing with Connor Bedard, and then anytime outside of that, though, it really hasn't been there this year. I don't know. I'd say like some of that, to your point, like some of that play away from the puck or the defensive effort hasn't been as shining as it was earlier this year, even when he wasn't necessarily like scoring, like he went on that run that he did in the middle of the season. Even before that, there would be times where like, you could really see the back checking efforts and diving for pucks and blocking shots and stuff. And there haven't really been too many moments like that. And maybe that comes with, decreased ice time, but it just seems like for a guy that's gone down the lineup, you'd expect maybe to find that game again, to go back up the lineup. These guys, guys like that don't want to play on the 4th line. They want to be up in the lineup. They want to be getting all the opportunities they can be. So I don't know. Maybe it could be that, again, I kind of talked about it the other night about not wanting to see guys thinking about, keeping an eye on the exit door or anything on the season. But you might worry about that for some of these veterans at this point of the season, the way it's gone, the way the expectations were. I'm not going to say I'm not accusing Bertuzzi of checking out, but you really hope that there's, enough in the tank to get through these final, 15, 16 games with 100% checked in effort.
Kevin said Bertuzzi should get in more fights, so at least he's noticeable. It's it's funny. I was talking to Greg about this the other day. His reputation as like a physical rat crap disturber is not really crazy warranted. He doesn't get a ton of penalties. He doesn't fight. He'll finish his checks and he's physical in front. Like he's willing to pay a price to score a goal in front of the net. But in terms of like having an Andrew Shaw or Brad Marchand style game, not really. I think a lot of that is because his name is Bertuzzi. A lot of people associate him with his uncle Todd, and they're not the same player. Like they're just
No.
not. And I will say too, Todd Bertuzzi, who is infamous now for the Steve Moore incident, as he should be, was the game's best power forward for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
When he was in Vancouver. He wasn't just some kind of goon. He was, I believe he scored 50 goals at one point or in the 40s. Very, very close
Yeah,
to
he
it.
definitely was high up in being able to score and yeah, the power
Yeah,
forward
46
style.
goals in
Yeah.
0203, and that's 97 points. And that was 0203.
Right, when scoring was down. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think there were expectations of him to kind of be a little bit more of that pot stirrer, but we haven't seen it. And you're right. It might just be the name on the back of the jersey kind of brings an extra, um, I guess, just an extra characteristic that maybe it doesn't actually translate to his game. It's not like Max Domi and Ty Domi.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, he's a Domi. But it's
Still not quite like his dad, though.
not exactly close, but not exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point in his career, it's probably not going to be something he taps into, right? Like, seems
No.
like he's kind of like, well, I've been in the NHL and I've been successful in the NHL at times playing this way. Why change it? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Do you want to take a guess at the point scoring leader number for 2002, 2003?
The scoring leader?
The highest point total in 2002, 2003.
Well, you said Bertuzzi was what, 97?
He had 97 points. I'll give you this. He finished 5th in the league in scoring.
Was it Jerome McGinley?
No, it was number 1 was Peter Forsberg with 106 points. That led the league. Now you have McKinnon and Draisaitl are over 100 points already, right? Those are the two, I believe, this year.
I believe so, yeah, already.
What, 15 games ago at least? Marcus Naslund had 104, Joe Thornton 101, Milan Hajduk 98, and Tyler Bertuzzi with 97.
Todd Bertuzzi.
Thank you, Todd Bertuzzi. Yes, not Tyler.
That's pretty good. I mean, I think back to the 2015 season. Jamie Benn led the league with 87 points.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy when you look back at the last couple of years where you've had a guy break 140 a few times.
Yeah, I'm very glad scoring is back up.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm sure the NHL is too.
Yes. All right, before we wrap up, there are maybe 2 tickets left.
I'd be surprised if we're not sold out yet.
We might be sold out already, but if you don't know, we are having a diehards only takeover coming up a week from tomorrow. Chicago versus Philly. The puck drops at 2. We're going to have a pregame meetup around noon at an establishment nearby. We will let you know when we have all those details finalized, but jump in there. This is a diehard only event. So if you're already a diehard, make sure you're logged in to allchgo.com when you navigate over to the event page so you can buy these tickets. It's $55, section 312, row 10. Join us for our takeover. I had to sneeze.
Oh. Yeah, as of late last night, there were 3 tickets still available. So if you haven't jumped on it today, you might want to act quick, or you might be too slow, but you got to jump on it.
Yeah, our events sell out very quickly, and it always shocks the people in Denver who have managed it. Like, oh, you guys sold out really quick. Yes, we do every time.
We got great fans,
and
great
we appreciate
diehards.
it. Thank you all for signing up. If you'd like to become a diehard, you can scan that QR code on your screen or go to allchgo.com/join. Okay, we're going to be back as soon as the game ends. We'll talk to you when Hawks and Canucks wrap up right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.